If you read my talk abstract, I talked about the fact that I gave this same talk 10 years ago. No, not the same talk. But in 2014, I talked about the fact that both life scientists and marketers were slow to adopt social media. And we find ourselves 10 years later. Of course, that changed, but now we see a shifting landscape with Twitter being owned by Elon Musk, and I'm open to jokes about him as well, and also interruptions. And I see that some life science marketers are just kind of thrown, and if you go on X now, a lot of companies just started abandoning around 2022. As Siobhan, my colleague, mentioned, I have been talking to customers. I actually have events across the country every month, so I talk to scientists a lot. We actually had an event in San Francisco this week. I'm going to have one in San Diego next week. So I am cognizant of the short time, and so I may skip over some slides because I don't want you to be late for anything. But at the last slide, I'll give you a link where you can download the presentation I'll give today. I'm a little behind on having a nice report of the survey, but that will be coming soon. So I'll skip over this outline. Just to tell you a little bit about Biotech Network, so I founded it in 2008 in San Diego, and for about the first 10 years, I did it on the side while I worked at life science marketing companies and as a consultant. And then, like a lot of people in the pandemic, I thought, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I decided I wanted to expand Biotech Networks across the country. So we have 12 locations, and what that means is every location has a website, a news and jobs feed, as well as social media. So, as we speak, I'm posting social media updates and website updates. And we have almost 150,000 subscribers and followers, 720,000 monthly impressions, which is 24,000 impressions per day, and we send 2.5 million emails per year. So I'll also be covering some of the insights from that type of marketing. And again, I'm going to gloss over some of these slides, but just to tell you that we did, with this survey that we did with Up There Everywhere, we required institutional email addresses so that we could make sure that the people that filled out the surveys were, somebody that was in the target. There's a bias towards California, of course, because that's where a lot of our network is. The companies are smaller, and the institutions are, just mid-size. And then we have a good mix of marketing, C-level, and sales. And so I'll just go through the marketer survey, and I also realized this is a talk at the end of the day, and there's a lot of words on these slides, so I apologize if you need to have another cup of coffee, but I promise, we'll make it worth your time. And again, if anything's unclear, please interrupt me. So we asked marketers, again, we did 2 surveys, one survey for marketers and one survey for scientists. We asked them about 2025 strategic objectives. I think as someone else said before, not surprisingly, lead generation was number 1, closing sales number 2. And again, all of these tables are going to be the same format. The first column will be the question, number 1, and number 2 will be the second 2 columns. And then in top tactics, number 1, conference exhibition. I think a lot of people have talked about that today. We've seen a slow increase of scientists coming back. I like to say they're almost like homeschooled kids who have to be re-socialized. And so conferences will be a big, in 2025, be a big focus. And then new content or updated content, which we know content marketing is very important. What is the type of content planned? We were very surprised to see that they're saying social media is one of the top types of content they're going to make because, as I said, a lot of them seem somewhat confused because of the changing landscape. And then videos, brochures, and flyers. And then we also asked what type of content do you want to make but you don't have enough time? And I promise that Chris Connor didn't pay me to say this or influence, but podcasts is 36%. And then conference presentations, that goes along with them wanting to do more conferences, and ebooks. So these are the items that they don't have time for. So, and then talking to the marketers about social media 2024 usage. Not surprisingly, LinkedIn is number 1. Number 2 is Facebook, which I was kind of surprised at because a lot of people have abandoned Facebook. So this was for website-based social media. For text-based social media, so that includes Twitter, Threads, Mastodon, and Blue Sky. Interestingly, the marketers said, well, I mentioned that they've kind of abandoned Twitter. 69% said not applicable, so they're not using text-based at all to reach customers, and then Twitter was 22%. For image and video, not surprisingly, YouTube was first, Instagram second, and then we asked for the organic best ROI, and they indicated that LinkedIn was number 1, not surprising, and then number 2 is not applicable. So either they're not getting a good ROI or they're not using social media. And then the paid best ROI, we included social media as well as Google Ads, and you can see that, again, 36% said they're not even considering using paid social media or Google Ads, and then number 2 is Google Ads. So any questions so far? Everyone wants to catch their flight. Okay.
So just quick, how do people measure ROI on organic? Like, what do you think they meant by organic ROI?
Oh, good question. I guess the conversions. You would track the links and find the number of conversions. So we didn't get into that much detail, but that's what I would say would be an example. So for the scientist survey, we asked the same questions that we asked the marketers. We asked about website-based social media. LinkedIn is number 1. Biotech Networks is number 2. And you remember the bias that we sent this out to Biotech Networks followers, so it's a little bit not surprising. Text-based social media, again, 62% said they're not using it for work, and 31% Twitter. Image and video social media, YouTube number 1. And not as many are, they're saying that they don't use it all. News sources, again, Biotech Networks, the bias. And then for number 2, Fierce Biotech, Pharma, and LinkedIn. So again, eventually you'll be able to get all of the data so that you can, plan your 2025 media kit and buy advertising for any of these organizations. And then, interestingly, we asked about product info, and conferences were number 1 at 70%, and webinars were number 2 at 62%. And I'm just wondering if I skipped a slide. Oh yeah, I did forget this slide. So for digital marketing, for the marketers, we asked about the best ROI specifically for digital marketing, emails, and SEO were number 1. For 2024, what's most challenging, the lack of resources, and then 2025 tactics planned, SEO, webinars, emails, and search engine marketing. So this is important. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that marketers really love emails. And like I said, we send 2.5 million emails per year for our clients. And so, we agree with this, but then if you look at the scientist data, they're not getting, the data's not shown here because it wasn't a top result, but they're only 30% of them are getting their information about products from emails. So there's a disconnect there.
But they also not mentioning content, which where SEO would go under content.
Sorry, I'm trying to go back. I don't know why it's not going back. So say that again.
So the SEO content is not mentioned anywhere, and SEO would drive content.
Okay.
Maybe blog, but not. So there's
Yeah.
a disconnect between what you think is working,
Yeah.
consumable information,
Yeah.
versus where they actually work.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. So, perhaps I didn't say at the beginning, but since I gave that talk in 2014, a lot of things have changed. So again, there's a differing landscape in social media, but also, of course, 4 or 5 years ago, we had the pandemic, and that changed. Many people have talked about that. It's changed the way people view in-person events. So in the survey, we also asked about events. So we asked scientists, what in-person events are you planning to attend? And number one is local organizations. That would be like Women in Bio, AWIS, organizations like that. And number two, scientific conferences. And good news for this group, company lunch and learns. So I really enjoyed Richard Brooks' talk about how his sales team has been empowered to do more events, and we definitely agree with that. So virtual events, what do they plan to attend? Webinars, also good for this crowd. I know I talk with life science companies. They have mixed feelings about their webinars. And one thing I'll say, I don't know if I'll get to it, and somebody pointed this out, I don't think any of us watch a webinar or watch a talk. I can see some of you on your phones, no, not calling you out, I did the same thing. So you just have to think about, you're competing with a lot of different attentions right now. And we get a lot of people sending us marketing materials that is very uninspired. And as Chris Connor said, you're competing with everything out there, especially with this uncertainty in social media. You have to make sure that all of your content is optimized because you're competing with everyone else who's trying to find other ways to reach their customers. So another thing we asked is what type of virtual content you're interested in. And of course, number one is career development. Scientists have this all in common. And I also wanted to call back to Hamid's talk when he talked about reciprocity. So you do something nice for your client base, and it may not happen the next day, but they will feel indebted to you. I don't know if any of you subscribe to Thermo Fisher's it's either Beyond the Bench or Behind the, I think it's Behind the Bench, but they provide resources to scientists, and again, they want to do their employer branding and they want to recruit. But also there's a lot of goodwill in helping scientists learn about different types of careers. All right. I don't know, it's not. I'm not a Mac person. Yeah.
On the speed networking, is that something that they're trying to network with other scientists or network to learn more about technology? What was that?
I'm glad you asked. So speed networking has become Biotech Network's signature event. So what we have a platform that we use. So it's a lot like speed dating, but you're trying to find colleagues, and so we do that in person, and we also have a platform where we can do it virtually. So yeah, it's very, very popular. I can say that no less than 5 people after every event just come up with heartfelt thanks and saying, when is the next event? Because we all know scientists are introverts, and we say we take the work out of networking. So if you're in one of the hubs, just get back to me, and I'll make sure you get a free pass next time. So, all right, so we're jumping to the insights, and I think I'm doing pretty well. I'll speed through this as fast as I can. So in general, marketers and scientists are both prioritizing in-person events, such as conferences. And I'm trying to call back to as many people as I can. So Jen Perkins talked about the fact that you need to maximize your event experience. And I would agree 110%. I am amazed at when I walk around an exhibit hall, how many people are on their laptops at the booth. And I think their marketing staff would be just appalled as well. So I would say do everything that conference offers. So I went to BPI West in Boston in the fall, and 2 companies just hit it out of the park with they did everything that you could do at the conference. They've been following up. They've been nurturing me as a lead, even though I'm not a lead. And then someone, so, well, you know how it is. You got to go to your potential customers. So I would also say someone just talked about a company that went over to digital, and I would say that I'm older, but these companies, I'm all for sustainability, but when you walk away without something in your hand, or it often happened that they said, oh, the expert on this will be here at 2 p.m., and they didn't have something they could show me. So I would say definitely come up with a plan to use iPads, to use smart monitors, to have a postcard with a QR code, because I'm all for sustainability, but if your company goes out of business because you're not getting leads, it's not going to help. Webinars are still a good tool, but again, you've got to engage people. So one thing I wanted to point out, and this was kind of a leading question because I knew what the answer was going to be. So we asked marketers, which LinkedIn products do you use? So at Biotech Networks, I use about half of these products here. And I can, if you want to know the details, I can tell you which ones are good and which ones aren't. And a lot of marketers aren't using them. And so I would encourage you to use all of them. And LinkedIn also has consultants that will help you, because they would love for you to spend money with them. But concomitantly, you may know that LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. So you could wake up tomorrow and it could be a widget on Outlook. So similar to what's happening with Twitter, you've got to think about having a diverse portfolio. And then I will give you the link to download this, so I won't get into details, but there's just a lot of opportunities for different applications that you can use. So I want to cover my favorite billionaire topic, Elon Musk. And actually, since we launched the survey, so I think we launched it right before the election, something new has happened that didn't even come up in this survey. So this is from Science. It's 20th of November, 2024. And Science says it kind of nicely that people are leaving Twitter because of the changes that Elon Musk made. I had been a 16-year user of Twitter. As soon as Elon Musk started becoming more political, let's just put it nicely, I'm no longer on Twitter. So a lot of scientists are moving to Blue Sky, and I think it's really exciting. And an influencer that I use as an example a lot, David Schiffman, gave me a quote about how he's really excited about moving to Blue Sky. So also just this week, I got an email from Buffer, and they are going to start integrating with Blue Sky. So keep an eye on it. I will say that Blue Sky doubled from October to November, but X still has 600 million users, so it's not going away anytime soon. And then some recommendations. I already mentioned diversifying your social media portfolio. Digital marketing, of course, I submitted this talk before I knew everyone was going to say thinking outside of the inbox, but we pointed out that so email marketing, we think it's great. Scientists, it's almost like, we have a hammer and we're trying to, what was it, hammer, nail, one of those analogies. But I want you to just think about what ads reach you. So I listen to Pandora, and I'm sure you're familiar. The last embarrassing Google search that you did comes up on an ad. Thankfully, you can just not let the person know that you're being targeted on Pandora. I've also been watching PBS or streaming services, and I've gotten ads from Cytiva and other biotech companies. So just think about what reaches you and pursue that. And then I think I mentioned no one here, but I get a lot of really boring copy for emails, things I would never click on, and graphics that are very staid. And you just need to think think outside the inbox. And then as we're driving around, I know this is really small, but the picture wasn't great quality, but I'm sure you all see the NVIDIA ads and all the ads in San Francisco. And why doesn't biotech do that? So this was an ad run by Collaborative Drug Discovery last summer. So, and they also ran ads in the airports of hubs. So I don't know if it worked, but they're definitely thinking outside of the inbox. And then also content is going to continue to be king, hopefully not a dictator, not to bring up politics. I think I've covered most of these things because I was anticipating running a little bit late. All right, and so that's it. So I'd also like to thank, it was David Weber and Andy Bertera gave me a free pass to SAMPS last year because I was in Boston. And I actually met with Mindy. We had known each other online, and she told me about Up There Everywhere, and I joined. So thank you for that. And also it underlines things happen in real life that never happen online. And I think people are starting to realize that. And they said, okay, I got to get off my couch. I got to get out. I'll be working with Up and doing surveys like this as well as other offerings starting in 2025. And again, you can download this presentation at this URL. So I think I finished pretty well, 4:37. So.